Hello, all Inderes TV listeners and viewers. Oriola reported their Q1 this morning, and we have CEO Katarina Gabrielson here for interview as usual. Hi, Katarina.
Hi, Rauli.
Yeah, so let's start with the usual question. Can you kind of sum up the highlights of Q1?
I think there was a lot of good things in Q1. We had improved the sales. We have improved the net sales also. And we are also continuing on the strategy direction that we have. And I will say that the sales was in both segments, so both in distribution segments and in wholesale segments. Then we was a little bit weaker on the profitability, but that was mainly also due to investments in the wholesale segment that we have done during the period that we didn't do then in comparable last year.
Yeah, indeed, on the profitability, if you look at wholesale, like you mentioned, you grew but in sales, but earnings declined, and the same actually in distribution. If you exclude the dose dispense, sales grew quite well, but earnings declined. So was there something specific for this quarter? Or
no, but if you look for overall, you can say that at the beginning of the quarter was a little bit softer due to that we had some changes in both distribution and also wholesale. And then also in wholesale, we have invested especially in people that is closer to the business to be able to get the growth coming now for the future. We could also see that in the distribution segment, we have had a change in the VAT, like in the 1st of January, if I remember right. That was then making more volumes going in the end of last year.
Yeah.
So that's the main reason I will say. Then we have also like a little bit like bigger volumes. And I know that it's strange to say bigger volumes and that's having higher costs. But for us, it's really important to have the same predictable volumes over a longer period, because then we can have a more efficient distribution and setup in the logistics parts.
Okay.
So that's a little bit one of the reasons, I guess.
Was there any particular reason of this kind of uneven volume you referred to also in the?
It's more like the pattern from the customers in this one. So of course, if you look then on the hoarding side in the beginning, like in the end of last year, then of course it's affecting January and so on. So it's like but we can see that in the end of the quarter, the volumes picked up also again. Yeah.
Okay, good. Then on the Swedish dose dispensing, hopefully the last time we are discussing that, but you are able now to actually divest it in the beginning of April. But I think the acquisition price was set around 10 million euros, and now you commented that you have received 5, and you actually wrote down around 5 or 6 million. So are you getting the other 5, or what's happening there?
We will get 5.3 as it looks like, and of course, like we said, we have discussed this a quite long time. It's 1.5 years, a little bit more even since we closed the deal. So there has been changes that we then needed to take into account, for example, in the capital, net working capital and other stuff.
Okay. That's quite a big change, but it's only kind of the customary.
It's a customary
things here.
There is nothing strange, nothing hidden.
Okay. So you will settle with 5, and that's the end of that then. Then on the guidance, you basically maintain the same guidance, some technical changes there, but guidance for improving earnings is unchanged.
It's unchanged, and we really believe in that. So there is nothing changed. It's more like we said here, we don't want to have the Svensk dose anymore. So this is a change to be able to take care of that.
Yeah, exactly.
So now it's out, and let's have it out.
Exactly. I think that's good. And then of course a lot of things going on in the world and a lot of uncertainties. How do you see it in your markets for the rest of the year? Is there any kind of visible things changing that would impact your business? Or
no, I will say that of course we are monitoring what's happening, and of course if you look at like what we have now in the geopolitical situation, there is uncertainties for sure. We can also see that if you look like we are not as exposed as maybe other companies for US, because we don't take so much medicines from there. 60% of the medicines are produced in Europe. We should remember that. And the other parts is also quite often coming from Asia. So the exposure is smaller for us than maybe for other companies. But of course, it's like you never know. The consumer confidence, like we said here also, is higher in Sweden, but it's weaker in Finland. And that might be affected by this one. Yeah.
But at the moment, no.
At the moment, no. And of course, we need to monitor it, but like everyone.
Yeah. Good. Then there was actually a decision in the AGM earlier this month to combine the share series. Of course, that's up for the shareholders and the board mostly. But I noticed that when the board recommended the the change, then there was a mention also that it would improve the company's ability to raise equity capital and participate in some M&A. So is there any changes or anything kind of particular going on you could refer to kind of related to these topics?
Yeah, for us, I can say that yes, we are supporting that it's easier to handle one share class than two, of course, and it's also like hopefully easier for the investors in these cases. We have, of course, then made this small acquisition of MedInfo during the first quarter, but that's the only thing there is nothing else decided right now. But of course, like we said, we are looking at different kind of possibilities for the future. Like we said before, no changes on that. But this is like it will make life easier for everyone to have one share class.
Yeah, that's clear. Then a couple of questions actually from our investor forum, maybe a bit more broad things. So first one was related to your factoring arrangement or sold receivables, which you have, and ongoing with quite a sizable sum, and yet you have actually quite clearly a net cash position in the end of Q1, and that was also has been for a few quarters on the kind of net cash side. So what's the rationale for kind of keeping the sold receivables while having cash in the balance sheet actually?
I understand that question. I think everyone who's looking at Oriola sees that. But we can also say that there is a lot of fluctuations in the capital that we have over the months. And this is all work that we have, like how can we balance it more, but we need to balance like how do we get the money in and how do we get the money out, of course, in that aspect. But I know that Mats, our CFO, together with his team, is working on to see how is the right dynamics overall in the cash.
And is that cost for selling the receivables, is that competitive compared to the kind of other financing possibilities?
I will not comment that, but of course we are looking on the total one for sure. For sure.
Okay,
yes.
Good. And then the other question was quite broad, but maybe to try to answer in a kind of a sharp way. So related to the competition and your competitive position, and I chose to kind of focus that on two kind of non-medicine markets in this interview. So first one on the advisory side, where you made this acquisition. How is the competitive field there, and what do you see as your competitive advantage?
No, but you can say that of course there is competitions also in this field, and our strength right now is that we are quite strong in the Nordics, and especially with the acquisition, we get a stronger footprint in the full Nordic. What we can see is that we can really help the pharmaceutical companies to build their business by being local. Even if maybe when we talk about Finland and Sweden, you say that how local are we? But yes, we are local in Europe in that aspect. And if you look for then the Oriola Insight part that we have talked about here, really like utilizing the things that we have in the company and package it and really help the pharmaceutical companies to take decision. And that is something that I think is quite unique, because I can really see that it has an interest in our customer base in these ones. And of course, we have a lot of knowledge and so on in the company, and utilizing that to benefit the customers is strength.
And sure. What kind is the market? Is there a lot of like specialized advisory small companies, or is it mostly your kind of companies?
There is both, I will say. There is a lot of small ones, of course. There is like the MedInfo that we then acquired, and so data is one thing. What we did in MedInfo is then different kind of businesses. Is also like how patient supports, for example, and also other things, and so the different areas, and we can grow most of them.
Yeah. Okay. And then basically the same question around traded goods, which is a part of your wholesale segment. So what kind of competitive situation and edge you see there for you?
You can of course say how big is the traded goods area in this one, and how do you frame it? Yeah. But what we are really doing is that in Finland we have a lot of our own brands, and we don't have as much of that in Sweden as we have in Finland. So taking that knowledge and bringing that to Sweden, and also growing the own brands part here in Finland might be a possibility, and also the customer base. Then in Sweden we have a lot of the assortment. If you see a pharmacy and you have a desk, and behind the desk you have most of the medicines. We have everything in Sweden that is in front of that desk. And how to utilize that and that knowledge can also bring possibilities to Finland. and how then to work close together with the customers. And that's why I'm really happy, what I said here before, that we have higher NPS and is raising that in both countries, because then we can take this knowledge and really like help the customer also to succeed. Because if the customer succeeds, we will also succeed. So that's the basic in it. So it is not inventing something completely from the outside, but really take the knowledge we have and utilize that.
Yeah. And is it mostly focused on the pharmacy customers, but you obviously
not only, I will say, because of course we have the pharmacies, but you can grow the pharmacies to a certain extent.
Exactly.
So we are also really looking at the retail sector overall, and also other customers. Also veterinarians is a really important customer group. In Sweden, for example, we have vaccine customers.
Yeah.
We are the main distributor of vaccines in Sweden. So how can we also combine these kind of things in the cross-selling parts? And this is also one of the reasons why we then made a change in the organization, to really focus on how do we cross-sell and how do we benefit from the things that we do.
Yeah. And if we consider selling to retail these traded goods, they have obviously a lot of other suppliers, and you're not a key supplier there as you are in the pharmacy side. So what's your kind of edge to go into that area more?
No, but you can say that we are, especially here in Finland, we are already in the retail. We sell to all the big retailers with the assortment we have, but you might not see all the brands in that one. So we are in that. And then, of course, if we have a deregulation here in Finland, we will be an even more important provider in that one. So we have good discussions also with the retailers. Yeah.
Okay. Good. So that's all for this one time. Good luck for the next rest of the year.
Thank you, and see you next quarter.
Thank you.
Thank you.